We are here live on location at the historic Minnesota History Center on Kellogg in St. Paul. For the fans and the viewers, Doctor, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Doug Hartman. I'm a sociologist at the University of Minnesota, and I do a lot of work on race and sports.
Can you give us some information and a little bit of a snapshot of what this really means to have this footage and to be on the first team, the AAU team, Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, so I was a history major. I think history is so important, and it's especially important for communities whose history is lost or isn't told or isn't known about.
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling hey man, just to get back with my old friends.
I feel great. I feel inspired. I feel motivated.
I refereed them in basketball. I refereed McRae All-Stars in 1983, 84, 85.
I think part of our purpose and mission in this series is to include us into this Minnesota Historical Society and Minnesota History Center. This conversation, like others that we've had, is very unique.
McRae All-Stars was big to my life, big to my upbringing, something very big to my dad. This is a team that he carried in his heart.
Obviously in the screen, McRae All-Stars were the first AAU basketball team in the state of Minnesota.
Because I think a lot of people don't realize McRae Gym doesn't exist. There is no gym at McRae Park. So a lot of this was done on the blacktop and then using other park board places to make this happen. Right. But it was also a bunch of young brothers that had a goal, and that was to be the best that we could be.
When you first asked me to do this, the first story that came to mind is when we went to La Crosse, Wisconsin.
I mean, it didn't matter what the weather was. Mr. Crowder was picking us up. We had no excuse. We was going to practice.
We at that point, we already just started to construct a real bond, brotherhood, when it came to us competing.
They never think that going to be traveling at that age. You know, that was something that was new. Even our moms and dads all came, so we had support. Not like we traveled like every week. People coming up to you, asking for your autograph. You know, I thought I was a pro then. I just wasn't getting paid.
It's very creative, put together really well. Love the format, the way it was set up.
That day when y'all came to the Pillsbury tournament, and then y'all recruited us, and then we went to Denver, and it was just beautiful. I still remember it. You know, some of the greatest times of my life, really.
I felt the love. Tell some of my stories.
I'll tell you a story about Vegas. Okay. I'm 280, 6'4", 12 years old.
We beat you.
4'3", 40. That's how fast I was.
There's some parts of it I expected, but there was always something new and different that I didn't expect. That's what I enjoyed about it.
We're going to winning tournaments, like Kenny Kelly said, in Vegas. We're going to Denver, 2 teams. We're going to California. We're doing all this stuff that a lot of our friends were not doing. And when we come back home again, we're dealing with stuff in our own homes. And then there's this thing called the drug invasion that totally wiped out our communities, whether we was over South, over North, or in St. Paul.
That's right.
So we can talk about who, but man, we're grown men now. So when we reflect back on those times and the things that we all went through, one way or another, how do you think that really impacted us?
Man, it got hot up there for a minute, huh?
It did, because I think you haven't seen a lot of people in a long time, so it brings back a lot of good feelings. It also brings a little bit of sadness.
Uplifting, inspiring program.
that group of people that were up on the panel, we are pretty instrumental in our community.
Very heartfelt communication between men who have a long history together and accomplished something really significant in their lives.
And it's just an amazing feeling to see everybody back together. The experience that Mr. Crowder gave us was just unmeasurable. So this is where I met my friends and the people that I would break bread with later on in life and play with and just grow up and through the ups and downs, because it was just so much more than just basketball.
To me, words can't express the gratitude that I have, one, for Mr. Crowder in general putting this together years ago, back in the 80s, but then for Ralph Jr. to come back and put it together, I think is groundbreaking. I mean, I think you can't prepare yourself for what just happened today.
A big shout out to the other figures that was traveling with us, Mel Riley, from, Dr. Charles Sims, and others.
Ralph put on a great show here today.
This basketball made it all happen with us.
What I walked away with is a continued, renewed sense of knowing that our stories matter.
Look at all these black men on stage in this place. When have you ever seen that here?
You haven't.
When have you ever heard this kind of story in this space?
You haven't.
We hear many stories up here on this panel, so many different stories, and every kid who's growing up is probably living a life similar to one of us.
To have these kind of conversations is a rare moment in time.
I know we were always a tight-knit group, but like I said, coming from St. Paul to Minneapolis, it was St. Paul kind of hung with St. Paul, Minneapolis, but once we became McRae,
I love them all as brothers.
I mean, this is a brotherhood for life.
It was just McRae. It wasn't no St. Paul, it wasn't no Minneapolis.
Right.
It was all McRae.
Right.
And it was much love.
I ain't going nowhere. We brothers forever, life and all that. And I was glad you did it.
That's interesting. Even though we haven't seen each other in a long time, but the things that we're doing now,
Yeah.
it's just like, man, we're all good people. You know what I mean?
We have to reach back.
Yeah.
We have to reach back and support our young people. And as Mr. Crowder Sr. and the other gentlemen that helped with the All-Stars, they were consistent.
Right.
And they were there. And they put the time in. And they invested. And they grew these young men up to what they are today.
Right.
Men.
All I expect is for Ralph to win and black journalistic excellence at its finest.
The dialogue, I think, with the participants and with the audience is one that is valuable. So.
I can speak loud, Brother Ralph.
Go ahead, Sister Cindy.
First of all, kudos to what you're doing, brother.
Yeah.
Sitting back and just looking, and I wasn't there when this happened, right? But I feel the vision that your father had, which is amazing to know that what he wanted to do is what we're seeing right now. So it surpassed basketball, and what it looks like to me is it instilled in you guys that the young men that he was trying to produce, now men. So when I hear you say the young people need us, my question would be, what would these brothers on this panel say to another young person? Because I think we have some of us in the audience right now. What would you say to them that would grab a hold of their spirit and make them want to do the same thing or similar things that was put into your spirit during the time you guys were 12, 13, 14 years old?